Hello and welcome everyone, it is me, the Lover, also known as the Power to Duelist, back for you with another Master Duel deck profile. This time, Domain Monarchs. After playing a very scuffed version of this in the NNR Festival, I used the gems we got for that to kind of finish this off, and in terms of finish, I did get some good finishes. Look at that Erebus and the Pantheism. So yeah, let's quickly run this down. Just one of my probably all-time favorite decks, as I do have kind of a soft spot for Monarchs. Idea is your main normal special summon or just enabler of the tribute engine. As when she is normal or special summoned, you are able to special summon another squire from your deck. In most cases, that will be Eidos, who gives you an additional tribute summon that turn on hitting the board. And also when she is sent from your field to the graveyard, you can add back one of your banished monarch spells and traps to kind of help you with that recurrable resource loop you are trying to get to, while continuously keeping your opponent out of their extra deck. Mithra, the Thunder Vessel, is here just as another tribute fodder body, because while she is in your hand, you can special summon her. Give your opponent a token to have like an body you can put easily on the board, and if she's tributed for a tribute summon, you can also gain an additional tribute summon for that turn, but she and Eidos do not stack, so you need to remember that. Eidos, as previously mentioned, if he hits the board, gives you an additional tribute summon in addition to your normal summon, making normal summon Idea with a Monarch in hand already a safe domain lock. Also, you can banish Eidos from the grave to special summon a Vassal from grave, or like a Squire, as the only Vassal you're playing is Mithra. Idea is just a prime target for that, also enabling, another tribute summon on the follow-up turn, as she will also just grab another copy of Eidos from the deck. Uncommon Fright is another card that Monarchs saw last year, got like a few rather neat singular cards last year. Uncommon Fright is a pendulum monster that you can pop in your scale if you have no cards in your extra deck to draw one. And then you can also, while it is the only card in your face-up extra deck, special summon it, which gives you just another easily accessible body for your tribute summons. Mobius is here as like a searchable, piece of back row removal. Very neat for that. Celeglare, the Luminous Lunar Dragon. This used to be Curus, the Light Monarch, just to have an interruption to summon of Ether. If you summon Ether on the opponent's turn. This is basically a quick effect, return itself to the hand, and then you can steal an opponent's monster that has less or equal attack to him, giving you that interruption there, which is very neat. Usually you would Curus pop something and then your opponent would get to draw, but this is just a better piece of interaction in that case. Ether, the Heavenly Monarch, just one of your big monarchs you want to get to as fast as possible. Can also be tribute summoned by tributing one tribute summoned monster, and if this is tribute summoned, you send 2 monarch spells and traps with different names from your hand or deck to the grave, and special summon a monarch from a deck, a monster with 2400 attack and 1000 defense to be precise, which would summon the Celeglare on the opponent's turn, as you can also during the opponent's main phase, if he's in your hand, banish a monarch spell and trap from your grave to immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summoner. Very nice. Just your main piece of interaction on the opponent's turn, and also a very neat swarming tool, as getting those additional monarchs onto the board is very sick. And then we have Erebus here, kind of the big guy, as he does have the animation in this deck apparently. Can also be tribute summoned by tributing a monster that was already tribute summoned. If he is tribute summoned, he also sends 2 monarch spells and traps with different names from hand or deck to the grave. And if you do, you can shuffle a card from the opponent's hand, graveyard, or side of the field into their deck. Very sick, gives you just some neat hand-ripping potential turn 1, as you do reduce your opponent's starting hand by a card. And also some very neat removal on the follow-up. And also, while he's in the grave, during either player's main phase, you can discard a monarch spell and trap to add a monarch from graveyard to hand. In terms of one-offs, we have a Rhoda. This can grab Idea, which is very nice. We have a Terraforming to grab our Domain. We have a 1-for-1, can also grab Idea, very nice. 3 Tenacity, you essentially reveal a Monarch in your hand or a monster with the Monarch stat line. and add a Monarch spell and trap card from deck to hand, but you are limited to 1 tenacity per turn. Just a very neat, you know, search tool for exactly what you need in case you have a Monarch in hand. The main centerpiece of the consistency of this deck, Pantheism of the Monarchs. Send a Monarch spell and trap from hand to graveyard to draw 1 card, draw 2 cards. And if this wasn't, and if, you know, an archetypal, graceful charity-esque card wasn't already great enough, you can also banish this from the graveyard to reveal 3 Monarch spells and traps from your deck. Your opponent chooses 1 to add to your hand, and you shuffle the rest back. Which, as previously mentioned, Idea and a big Monarch in hand turns into a instant domain lock, as you can Idea summons Eidos gives you an additional tribute summon. You tribute summon either Erebus or Ether, depending on, you know, what you drew. Those 2 will dump 2 Monarch spells and traps. One of those will be a Pantheism, and you can instantly banish the Pantheism for a domain search. On the topic of domain, the main card of why this is Domain Monarchs, while you have no cards in your extra deck and you are the only player who controls a tribute summoned monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Also, for tribute summoned monster you control attacks, it gains 800 during damage calc only, making these Monarchs rather sizable, turning your smaller ones 3200 on attack and the bigger ones 3600 on attack, which is absolutely huge. Also, once per turn, you can reduce the level of a monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense, basically all the bigger Monarchs, by 2 by revealing it in your hand. Return of the Monarchs is like your main consistency spell. You're locked out of the extra deck, but if you tribute summon a monster, you can essentially add a Monarch from deck to hand, being able to kind of grab you follow-up play or interruption with Ether. Stormforth, just a really sick card. A quick play spell lets you tribute an opponent's monster for a tribute summon. You would conduct this turn as if it was controlled by you. Flipping Stormforth in the opponent's draw or standby phase to tribute a monster they control for Ether gives you another piece of interaction, which is really neat. So yeah, Stormforth is an absolutely amazing card. 2 Caught by the Grave to fend off hand traps, you really don't like those. And 3 Prime Monarch for some resource recursion, as this can target 2 Monarch spells and traps in your grave, shuffle them into the deck and then draw you 1 card. Or just for some additional tribute fodder, because if it's in a grave you can banish another Monarch spell and trap from grave to special summon it in defense as a normal monster. Just a really straightforward and cool deck. You can definitely maybe tinker with some ratios, work in some staples, like maybe hand traps or Solemn Judgment, I think is also a very good inclusion in this, as you do not really like back row removal. But in general, I think a very nostalgic deck, I think, for a few people out there. Definitely for me, as I played Kaios as my boss monster a good bit in school. And, you know, having this modern take on it as this very straightforward stun beatdown deck is really cool. And for that, I do like it. It is simple, it hits really hard, and yeah, even if it might be bricking sometimes, I guess that's the beauty of it, you know? But yeah, with that, I'd be glad to hear your thoughts down below. Are you maybe someone who also plays Monarchs? Maybe has a different take on this. I know the extra deck variant is also something to consider, but I do think Domain is like a bit easier to get a grasp of in, you know, the modern sense of the game. But with that, I will thank you guys very much for watching and see you guys again next time. But until then, goodbye.